There are some very mixed messages coming out of the Obama administration on how safe we really are. Secretary of State John Kerry says the daily threat to Americans is historically low. But a short time ago, the country's top intelligence official, James Clapper, told a Senate committee that global terrorism is at its peak.
We are actually living in a period of less daily threat to Americans and to people in the world than normally.
In my 50-plus years in the intelligence business, I don't know of a time that has been more beset by challenges and crises around the world. I worry a lot about the safety and security of this country for a lot of reasons.
Hard to believe they're in the same administration. Those two voices speaking extremely publicly today and intentionally. White House correspondent Ed Henry joins us where it's snowy on the North Lawn. I mean, you know, it makes your head spin, Ed, listening to those two statements. What's going on?
Martha, you could not find two quotes more diametrically opposed, and that's what's so fascinating. And the idea, you would think that those two quotes happened a year apart, and we were saying, boy, the world has really changed. No, John Kerry, the Secretary of State, said that 24 hours ago. The world has not changed. He made that statement also just moments before we saw the president's own Justice Department, again, not his critics, but his own Justice Department, saying that 3 men had been arrested in Brooklyn because they were plotting to work with ISIS, and if they couldn't join forces with ISIS and were blocked by the New York City police, they were going to try to get machine guns to kill police officers and FBI agents. And oh, by the way, if ISIS ordered them to, they were willing to try to kill the president of the United States. This is insane, what is going on right now with ISIS. But for the Secretary of State yesterday to testify under oath that Americans have never been safer, while another appointee of the president says today, under oath, the opposite, is pretty fascinating.
I would imagine you have your question ready then for Josh Earnest
There's a briefing
today.
with Josh Earnest at noon, I think, and I saw you play a clip earlier from last summer where he said the world was pretty tranquil. That might be a good question, too.
Yeah, that's a good question, too. We'll look forward to that, as we always do, from you, Ed. You know, this is another statement that comes from the former head of the DIA, Mike Flynn, who spoke this morning with Bret Baier. This is stunning. He says Secretary Kerry is out of touch with reality. He clearly is not listening to the entire U.S. intelligence community. He is not reading any of the intelligence or other things that they've written over the last few weeks, months, years. And he goes on to say, talk about being out of touch. For him to make those statements is totally irresponsible, and he should be challenged by anyone who cares about the future of this country. Mike Flynn, as we know now, is not going away. He is upset about this line from the administration.
Well, he's right that the narrative from the administration needs to be challenged. And as you mentioned, there's a briefing coming up that will happen there and perhaps in other places in the days ahead. What I would say in Secretary Kerry's defense, now elsewhere in his testimony yesterday, in fact, in that same paragraph we're referring to, he did talk about the beheadings. I don't think it's necessarily fair for General Flynn to say that he's completely out of touch with the reality. He noted that the beheadings are going on, that there's real terror threats. But Secretary Kerry's bottom line was, we're pretty safe right now, and that doesn't seem to be true.
Yeah, and overall, the message seems to be, you know, that it's out of perspective, that it's out of whack, the amount of fear that is out there. They've talked about the media hyping things, and that is not the message that we're hearing from Clapper. Exactly. All right, Ed, we look forward to seeing you in the press room at noon. We'll see you soon.
Good to see you.
Thanks.